The next 2 months should be the most lucrative time of the year on the high street. But retailers are preparing to close their doors on Thursday and remain shut until the 2nd of December. Shoppers usually spend around £50 billion in the weeks leading up to Christmas. So where does the lockdown leave the retail industry? Retail analyst Kate Hardcastle joins me now. Hi to you, Kate. How tough is the timing of this move?
This is peak season for retail. It's a time where we will be more frivolous, we will go beyond budget, and we will, particularly when we're buying in store, because we shop in stores very differently, we will buy extra items, add them to the basket. As you said, £50 billion spent beyond food at this time of year normally. So no matter what happens with what bigger retailers will be able to do with the click and collect, this is going to be a significant hurt. Brands like Next are talking about £57 million dip in spending. My biggest fear, however, are for the smaller retailers. They make up a massive part of our retail collective here in the UK, and they have been such important lifeblood to our local communities and economies. They've already faced significant costs with one lockdown, then had to invest in their businesses to make them safe. They've had to deal with a huge change in footfall, much more limited to normal, and now they face the second lockdown where they can't just re-engineer their businesses as quickly as some of the bigger brands can do on the click and collect side of life. So that to me is where the hurt's going to be really felt.
Yeah, the boss of Waterstones today saying that the pandemic had been very, very, very good for the likes of Amazon, very bad for the small independent retailers who don't necessarily have the infrastructure to be able to immediately shift online. What is your advice to them to be able to get through the coming weeks?
They don't have the cash flow either, which is the more significant part of it. Entrepreneurial, smaller businesses, micro businesses are so important. They're the guys that are going to go out there and support your local football team and sponsor the kits. They're the ones that are going to make the high street more vibrant for us and make it feel and look different. They're the ones that choose local suppliers and feed into that economy. And whilst the economy surely has to be made up of the big and the small and the good and the bad and the ugly, we have to have them as part of that ecosystem. So if you are a small business owner, it is about understanding how you can pivot, how you might be able to use the click and collect rules. But the biggest and best advice I can give is working collaboratively. Sometimes we have lots of small businesses on our high street who don't know their neighbours that well, and I think this is going to be a time to pull together. But we shouldn't ignore just how much pressure this has been and how much emotional rot this has been. This is, you know, when you run a small business, it's your heart and soul, it's your absolute, it's your family, it's everything, it's your passion. It's more than just a way of making money, and this has been such a hard year for them. I'm pretty sure that we are going to get a reawakening of our high streets that will be more than just retail in the future, and that will be good for communities. But what I don't want to lose as part of that are these smaller businesses that add so much.
I mean, how far in the future are you looking with that vision? Because I wonder what our high streets are going to look like in the immediate future when we come out of this pandemic.
With all of the change today, including the shift to online, we've seen figures that we would have expected to be hitting around 2025 within a matter of a few weeks. And I can't see that that change is going to reverse completely. So if that's the move, if that's the change, then we've got to really apply the pressure on already very pressurised local authorities to say what were the plans for these places, these community places, and how can we evolve them quickly so they just don't rest on the reliance on retail? How can they be places for experience, community, welfare, places to work, places to live, residential included in that too? So I would say you've seen probably 5 years worth of change that's going to happen within a matter of months, and that is significant. But unfortunately, it's the way we shop. When we're forced into the lockdown situation, we use online. We're heading to Christmas. People feel emotionally charged about this one. They want to make it a good one, and therefore when they do spend money, they're going to have to either choose right now online or the click and collect services, and they can only spend where they're able to.
We are hearing from the Prime Minister in the next half hour or so. December the 2nd is the date we've been told for the end of this four-week period, but of course it could be extended. How important is it for the retail sector that those few weeks left before Christmas, they are able to reopen?
It's critical for the smaller businesses, particularly, as I said. Some of the larger businesses have got the infrastructure, the backing, the financial support to make it. Some of the smaller businesses just don't. And also the smaller businesses don't have the ear of the government as much as the other organisations. And I think that's where we've really shown ourselves to have this much better need for micro businesses as a collective to have their voices heard and be able to deal with those types of businesses in a very different way to the way the government deal with larger organisations. Indeed, maybe this is a time for some of those bigger retailers who do well, like the supermarkets, to stand up and maybe make some way in their stores to be able to show some products of those smaller organisations. Whatever the answer is, it's going to be about inventiveness. It's got to be about doing things differently, and it's got to accept that the lifeblood of what we need for our communities is the big and the small together. And we need to make that happen as business people. It's got to be down to all of us.
Kate Hardcastle, thanks very much indeed.